Hi all, wanted to do a quick post on insulation since we're almost done with the insulation for the live room here. I wanted to take a couple of minutes and go over some stuff. You'll notice in these walls here, I've put some insulation in. This is standard R13 for a 16-inch stud center bay. And you'll notice how the insulation it's very fluffy and puckered. I guess is the word I'm looking for. You don't want the insulation to be stuffed tight. What you want is for the insulation to actually breathe in the stud bay that it's in. If you end up having to shove the stuff in, the situation you see right here, if it's pushed in too much, it won't actually function. It's the air interacting with the pockets of glass that make the insulation work effective. So if you start shoving insulation in a hole, it won't function nearly as well as if you actually sort of allow it to function. So I'm using this as an example here where we had to stuff the insulation in there. But even then, you'll see I don't have it shoved in the hole. I just sort of left the fluffy cotton candy look and just slowly pushed it in there to try to keep it as, as open and filled as we can. Now there is an insulation that's extremely dense, and getting into it, it's this stuff here. This is called rock wool, and you can see there's a distinct difference between rock wool, which is dense and it is stuffed tight, but it's designed so that you can stuff it into this cavity here and you get a much denser insulation, but it's actually engineered this way. This stuff here is R13. So if we look at an example of a bat here on the floor, it's nowhere near as dense as this stuff over here. But this is why this is considered R13. And the comfort bat that you can see right there, that rock wool, that's R23. So it's because it's so much thicker, you're going to get easily almost double the value of its efficiency. So taking this stuff here and squeezing it and packing it tight will not get you the same effect as taking a product like this, which is designed to be a much thicker product and shoved into the same wall. So for that reason, I use this stuff between the control room and the live room here just to get me a much thicker, dense control between the two walls. And I'm going to be using the rest of that rock wool in the control room where I have no spray insulation, just for R value, because I'm trying to maximize the placement of the insulation, if you will. So we're finishing up the roof on my ISO booth here. And yesterday, one of the things that we did is we stuffed this entire cavity with R13 on the inside. And we're going to be framing up here sheeting, and then we're going to be taking those shingles that you see down there and then framing them on top of this to give it sort of like a shake roof sort of a look. I want to make sure that we seal the area off for acoustic purposes. Ideally, I would have used drywall. It has a little better STC value than using this, but we're going to use 2 layers of this, and you'll notice I went out of my way to caulk it in with an elastomeric silicone caulking. And we've done this to all of these stud bays. Again, it's because we're just trying to prevent leakage from coming between the live room, which in this case will be drums, and leaking into any portion of this booth here. Now, admittedly, and I've addressed this in earlier videos, one could make the argument, well, you're going all this trouble and expense to isolate all these nooks and crannies, but you've got a massive hole here with this glass, and then of course, worse yet, we have this single pane door system that admittedly we're just gonna have to pull it because it doesn't provide the isolation that we need. But obviously sound is like anything else. It's like water. It's gonna leak through any open path it can find. So anything that we can do on the inside of this booth to isolate it from the outside world is going to be an improvement. You can't argue that. Yeah, we're gonna have to make some framing decisions in terms of creating a wall or a box system to maintain this glass and to get some sort of air tightness to it. But by doing double glass, which we're doing, and by framing it so that the glass is 2 different angles, there's a lot we can do to prevent some sort of acoustic leakage from happening. And with these doors here, putting in a double door system that has really good door stops with some tight weather seal or air gap, air stop, we'll get much better result in terms of soundproofing in here. You're still going to get leakage because the glass is a terrible insulator, but for this purpose, you know, what we're doing here, it'll be good enough for me to put a musician in this room and have him play live with a drum kit out in the room and still get really acceptable isolation results. Plus, we still get a very comfortable room in terms of heat and coolness because we've gone out of our way to over-insulate it. So you can see last week where we've added the spray foam insulation to the wall system, and I haven't quite finished putting the bats on yet. But these, basically they're 24-inch wide bats. We're stapling that on top of the existing spray insulation, and you can really hear and feel the difference in this room now. We're pretty much finished with the audio wiring. You'll notice that we added a couple of mic lines yesterday. These are just some mic lines that go up the truss system, and they go up into that upper dormer. I'm going to put some room mics up there and leave them up there permanently. And then we also added another mic over here, which you can't really see in this dormer right here. In fact, I think if you look up there, you can see there's a coiled XLR cable. So we will put some sort of an XLR jack up there as well to allow me to use it as an additional room mic.